What do you think, Dan, is the most appropriate way to have those conversations? What's the frequency? How do you engage with your IT service provider to ensure that you're driving to outcomes for your business?
Yeah, I have two thoughts here. The first one is you're going to have tactical meetings, sort of base level operations meetings, figuring out what's going on with certain tickets and understanding why tickets aren't escalated, things like that. Those should be sort of set to the side, and those are fantastic, and those get a lot of that gets a lot
Well,
of
you
things
have to do
done.
them. You have to have
You
the
have to do them.
tactical, but that's almost focused on the reactive, not the proactive.
That's exactly what it is. But then on top of that, you layer the strategic and consultative discussions. And a good, healthy relationship, in my opinion, you're consistently talking about that stuff in phone calls and in questions and answer and in emails, but really formally, you're sitting down maybe once a quarter to sit down and say, okay, as a leadership team, us and let's talk about where we're tracking on your current strategic goals. Let's talk about modifications to those goals or new goals that have popped up. But as often as quarterly, depending on the size and complexity and sort of dynamic nature of your environment, but it could be a little bit less than that. But a really good client success team has account managers, people in that position that are constantly considering the strategy and considering how to get you where you need to be and sort of developing their responses and what they're doing around that. So really, it's kind of all the time, but formally, at least once a quarter, you're having very specific discussions and outcomes related to it.
You brought something interesting, client success. Double click on that for a second because I've seen IT providers that have a client success department, a division, a person,
Yes.
they've got account management. There's a lot of different acronyms, titles that float around in the industry. Like, what am I looking for in that client success if we want to latch onto that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. People ask me that type of question. So I can give you my opinion, and I'm glad to do so. Uh, if an organization treats their sort of account management and what we would say is consultative layer, if they treat it more as like an inside sales department, just purely with no consultative and no strategy, that goes back to one of the red flags for me. I want to have a partner that appreciates us, that lets us help with the strategy and vice versa. That's really, really powerful, especially for the amount of money people are going to spend on their technology. So if you're not getting that experience and you're basically getting somebody that'll occasionally hit you up to see if you need to buy anything or to place an order or whatever, that's a bit of a red flag. Now,
It's like an
certain,
inside sales type person that's
right.
just there to try to sell something.
Right. We certainly need to do that as an MSP. We need to, get things sold and get things executed, things like that. But if there's not the same person that's also being consultative and providing that guidance and being sort of, the person that comes and visits you and knows about you and wants to get you better and executing on a strategic level, that's the red flag. So that's my opinion, which is you want that account management position, regardless of what it's called. Sure, part of their job is sort of getting quotes signed and things like that. But I'd say 75% of the job is the strategic and the communication and sort of bridging gaps on our side, bridging gaps on your side, and doing those type of tasks to make you successful and to keep you as a really happy client for your MSP.
You know what I tell our client success team all the time is we're here to help, not sell.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times clients need to make investments in their IT infrastructure. They need to buy a new laptop or, upgrade some infrastructure. But at the forefront, we've got to help. We're there to solve
Mhm.
problems and deliver outcomes. And that's the number one thing is having a strategic outlook on the customer to ensure that we are adding value every day. At the end of the day, if you don't feel like your service provider is adding value to your business, then you need to second guess the relationship.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Oh, take a ticket, eat a ticket. That's all good and well. That's table stakes. But how can I have more of a modern IT partner?
Yeah. I think that you can ask questions to your provider right now, really, to sort of suss out whether or not they're your provider. If they're, things like, do you have a roadmap? If you don't know this, do you have a roadmap for us as your client for the next 6 months,
Or 12 or
12,
24?
12 months? Does that even exist on your side? If your managed services provider or consultant isn't actively helping you with your budgeting, which is a total add-on that we do, and we don't charge a dime for that. That's a problem too, because you want them to be able to take costs to you and solutions to you and say, hey, I've got several clients within your industry. There's this fantastic platform that they've used that accomplishes this thing. Here's what it costs over the next year. You want to have those discussions with your MSP. And if you're not, your IT provider, that's as we talk about red flags. Um, that's a red flag, is if they're not in those discussions, and if they're not capable to be in that discussion, that's a red flag too. Like if you're the person that you interact with at your IT provider really isn't capable of being in a budget discussion or providing these things, that's something I would really call out and understand whether or not you're getting the support that you really need.